My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how my life took a turn I never saw coming. Twice. It's hard to know where to begin, but I suppose it's best to start with the night everything changed. I grew up in a small town nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. My parents, Mark and Linda, were hardworking people. Dad ran a local hardware store, and Mom was a high school teacher. They weren't rich, but they made sure my brother, Ethan, and I never felt like we went without. Life was simple and steady, until one cold November evening when I was 16. It was a Friday night, and Ethan and I were home alone. He was playing video games in the living room, and I was upstairs finishing homework. The sound of the phone ringing broke the silence. I picked it up, expecting one of Mom's friends calling to chat. Instead, I heard a voice that was shaking, urgent. "Is this Sarah? This is Officer Daniels. I'm sorry to tell you there's been an accident. Your parents were involved." My heart stopped. The officer's words blurred together, but the fragments I caught were enough. Car crash and hospital. I dropped the phone, tears streaming down my face as I scrambled to tell Ethan. We were both too young to comprehend the magnitude of what was happening, but we clung to each other as we waited for news. Hours later, a family friend drove us to the hospital. The sterile smell of disinfectant filled the air as we walked into the waiting room. A doctor approached us, his face grave. "Your mother didn't survive the accident," he said quietly. "Your father is stable, but he's in critical condition." The next few weeks passed in a haze. Dad remained in the hospital, his injuries severe. When he finally woke up, he was no longer the man we had known. His body was broken, and the doctors said he would never walk again. But more than that, his spirit seemed crushed. The man who used to sing along to old country songs while fixing things in the garage now stared blankly out the window, lost in his own grief. Ethan and I were forced to grow up overnight. I took on responsibilities I never imagined, managing the household while juggling school and taking care of Dad. Ethan, though younger, tried his best to help, but the weight of our new reality bore down heavily on us both. Despite everything, Dad fought to adapt. He converted our garage into a workspace where he could repair small appliances and furniture, something he could do from his wheelchair. It wasn't the same as running his store, but it gave him purpose. Slowly, life found a new rhythm. It wasn't perfect, but we managed. When I turned 18, I decided to attend a local community college so I could stay close to home. It was there I met Lily, a vibrant, outgoing girl who became my best friend. Through her, I met her older brother, Alex. He was charming and kind, with a mischievous grin that could light up a room. Against all odds, I found myself falling for him. Alex and I started dating, and for the first time in years, I felt genuinely happy. He accepted my complicated life without hesitation, often helping me with Dad, and making Ethan laugh like he hadn't in years. Our relationship grew stronger, and after I graduated, Alex proposed to me on a rainy afternoon in the very park where we had our first date. I said yes without hesitation. Our wedding was a modest affair, held in our backyard with close friends and family. Dad wheeled himself down the aisle to give me away, his eyes glistening with pride. For a moment, it felt like we had found our happily ever after. But life, as I would learn, rarely sticks to the script. The trouble started with Alex's mother, Diane. From the moment we met, she made it clear she didn't approve of me. She would throw subtle barbs about my family's financial situation, or question why Alex had married someone with so much baggage. Her disdain was palpable, and her daughter, Emily, wasn't much better. They often whispered behind my back, their disapproval evident in their icy smiles. Alex always stood by me, defending me when his family crossed the line. But the tension was constant, an undercurrent that threatened to pull us apart. It came to a head one Christmas when Diane cornered me in the kitchen, You know, she said, her tone dripping with condescension. Alex deserves someone who can give him a real future. Not someone weighed down by a disabled father and a troubled brother. I was too stunned to respond, but Alex overheard. His voice was firm as he told Diane, "If you can't respect Sarah, then you don't respect me." We left that evening, and Alex didn't speak to his mother for months. Still, the damage was done. Her words lingered in my mind, planting seeds of doubt. As the years passed, life continued its ups and downs. Alex's job as a contractor kept him busy, often requiring him to travel for weeks at a time. I found work as an office manager, a steady job that helped pay the bills. Ethan, now in college, was thriving in a way I hadn't expected. And Dad, despite his limitations, found joy in the small moments, tending to his garden or teaching Ethan how to fix things. Then came the call that shattered everything. Alex was on a work trip when his car was struck by a drunk driver. The police officer's voice on the phone was steady but solemn. "I'm sorry," he said. "Your husband didn't make it." The grief was unbearable. I went through the motions of planning the funeral, but I felt like I was underwater. Everything muffled and distant. Diane and Emily showed up, their faces masks of sorrow, but their actions spoke otherwise. Diane cornered me after the service, her voice sharp. "You should sell the house," she said. Alex would have wanted his family to have it. I was too numb to argue, but I knew she was wrong. That house was our home, built on the foundation of love Alex and I shared. I refused to let her take that from me. Weeks later, as I sorted through Alex's belongings, I found a letter tucked in his desk drawer. It was addressed to me. With trembling hands, I opened it and began to read. "My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer by your side. I can't bear the thought of leaving you, but I want you to know how much I love you. You've been my rock, my light in the darkest times. I've made arrangements to ensure you and your dad are taken care of. Everything I have is yours. Live your life fully, my love, and know that I'll always be watching over you. Forever yours, Alex." Tears streamed down my face as I read his words. Even in death, Alex was looking out for me. The will he had left ensured that the house and all our savings were mine. Diane and Emily had no claim to it, no matter what they thought. The months that followed were a whirlwind of grief and resilience. I leaned on Dad and Ethan, finding strength in their unwavering support. One day, as I was tending to the garden Alex and I had planted together, a wave of nausea hit me. At first, I chalked it up to stress, but when it persisted, I decided to take a pregnancy test. The result was clear. I was pregnant. A mix of emotions washed over me: joy, fear, and an overwhelming sense of connection to Alex. This child was a part of him, a piece of our love that would live on. When I told Dad, his eyes filled with tears. "This baby is a gift," he said, his voice steady. "A new beginning for all of us." As my belly grew, so did my determination. I refused to let Diane and Emily's negativity tarnish this new chapter. When they showed up uninvited one afternoon, demanding to see Alex's will, I stood firm. "This is my home," I told them, "and you have no right to be here." For the first time, they left without a fight, their threats of legal action empty. The day my daughter Grace was born, I felt a renewed sense of hope. She had Alex's eyes, a constant reminder of the love we shared. Dad and Ethan doted on her, their laughter filling the house once more. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and we were determined to make the most of it. Through all the heartache and challenges, I learned one thing: love endures. It may change shape, but it never truly leaves us. And as I watch Grace grow, I see Alex's spirit in her, his kindness, his strength, and his unshakable belief that we could overcome anything together.